Hey guys, John here. Today I want to talk about a concept that seems pretty obvious, but basically less is more in a lot of things, and it's especially true in synthesizers. So if you're using a powerhouse synth like Avenger 2, maybe you have Falcon or Faceplant or something like that, a synthesizer that can do so much is almost hard to comprehend. I think sometimes we get lost in the things that we can do. So we think we can do everything that we want and we can make the craziest patches, which is true, absolutely. But I think at the same time, we kind of lose track that we can keep things almost stupidly simple and also have a really cool sound at the end of the day. And I think a lot of that comes from if we listen to older music where artists would have synthesizers, something very basic, right? Maybe like a Prophet or a Moog or something like that, that's not as crazy in depth as the tools we have now. But yet they still made really cool sounds, iconic patches that we're still even trying to remake to this day, which is kind of an interesting thing to think about. So the whole point of this is less is more and kind of showing how we can use very few parameters, but almost in a targeted way to get something that we want. So if we go to our menu, we go to initialize, it's got a fresh preset here. We have a saw wave. Okay. Really cool, right? So I'm not even going to use unison for this because I don't think we really need it. So try to maybe make patches and the main crux that you use, maybe you always put unison on something. Maybe try to not do that and see where that takes you. But anyway, we have one oscillator. So let's go to the plus and add another one. There's just something about two saw waves together that just sounds magical. Now, each one of these saw waves sounds different every time we hit it, and that's also due to the phase being random on both these oscillators. But we can always go a step further for this. So on the second oscillator, what we can do since we're already here, we can go to our fine tuning, and if we hover over this and look down here at the bottom, we have two options, right? So if we right click this here and turn this to the left, we can go to a random pitch. So let's start tuning this at 0 and kind of keep adding value to it and change and listen to the notes and see how they change. So now not only do we have the randomness of both phases for both oscillators, but now the second oscillator is going to be a random kind of fine tune for each note that we hit, which is definitely pretty cool. So the next thing that might think I might want to add, maybe we can go to the filter, but I kind of want to thicken this up a little bit. And even back in the day, one of the main things to do with this would be using a certain type of chorus, right? So if we right click here in Avenger, if you're following along as well, we have an option. We can go to vintage chorus. We can even go to the regular chorus down over here. So I always am kind of partial to the vintage chorus. I think this one is for the most part my favorite, and I've spent a good amount of time making a preset that I really like, and this is called the smooth chorus. Now feel free to pause the video and take a look at these settings and apply them if you'd like to, but it kind of sounds like this with two saw waves. Okay, so that's kind of a cool starting point to go with. Now, what I would like to do for a patch like this to make it a little bit bigger is also increase the release on our amp so it kind of breathes after a little while. Right, so we have some nice smooth highs, some nice mids, and then some beefy lows at the same time. So that's okay for now. And I think at this point, we can probably start adding a couple of delays because that was also a huge thing as well. As a lot of delays, you got to kind of fill up the sound field a little bit more. And the trick I like doing for things like this is actually using two separate delays. So the first one, we're going to go with our delay and our time. We're going to click this guy here and then maybe make this 1/8 dotted, and then also EQ this so we don't want any of that low end. And maybe we can bring in some of the highs to maybe around 10, 11K. So something kind of like that. Maybe increase the mix here. We're trying to make a huge patch here, maybe 36. That's kind of cool. And then we're going to add another delay here. And for this one, we're going to go for a quarter note. And then if we're also going to stay on ping pong, there's something about ping pong that just sounds so good. But here we're going to bring down our width probably to about center-ish. Now, this is kind of a cool concept because we have delays going pretty left and right, and then we have the width down for this other one over here. Or what we can do is bring this ping pong all the way up, and on the first delay, we can bring this one down to the middle and see what that sounds like. can do something kind of like that as well. And also the same type of EQ move here, cut some of that low out. Let me bring this down to 10, 11K, something like that. Okay, so we're in a pretty cool spot here, and then maybe we can add some reverb, or some people also maybe would add phasers, something kind of like that. But for now, I think we're gonna go maybe to this AA reverb, and then maybe for the time, this might be okay, but I do want to bring the pre-delay pretty down, maybe 13, 14, 15, 16, around there. And also the EQ down here, we don't want it to be reverberating that low, so maybe above 300. Okay, so we're in a pretty cool spot here. We are just using 2 oscillators, chorus, 2 delays, and a reverb. So pretty basic, nothing too insane. We're not even really doing any crazy modulation or something like that yet, right? So now is the point where we would think, okay, this is a cool sound. Now, what kind of filter are we going to send this through? And also keep in mind, what is the routing going to be? Because if you look at our stacks here, the filter is going to come before the effect. So whatever we're actually filtering, if we listen to this here, we're actually not filtering that sound. It's happening to this sound. So depending on how we want to do it, we can either put a filter post our effects here, so we can right click and then we can add a filter down over here, or we can just use this filter up here. Really depends on how you want to do it. If we want to keep with kind of the original flow, then maybe we could stick with this one here and kind of see what's going on. So let's do some filter stuff right over here. And let's slow down that decay. It's a little bit fast here. So we're already getting this big sound, and something I particularly love in Avenger, and some other synthesizers do it as well, is this spread here where it's basically every other note that we press is going to kind of move it from the left speaker and the right speaker and back and forth. So we grab this spread here and let's go to alternate and kind of turn this to the right, and we'll play some stuff that you can kind of see how it really spreads that through the stereo field. And then keep in mind what we did here with the delays is going to even widen that even more. We're getting something kind of cool right over here. So now what's the next thing we can do? We can maybe add some drive, or maybe we can even switch out some different filters and kind of see how they sound. Kind of a nice one there. Ooh, the Nexus slow past 12 is nice as well. Okay, so that's pretty nice. So maybe something like this here. I would probably want to control this cutoff here with a macro. So let's... maybe that's the lowest it could probably be. And let's grab this macro 1, drag and drop this here, put this all the way to the top, and then kind of use this bar to define the maximum position. Maybe something right there is kind of cool. And let's label this cut off. And then maybe we can do resonance as well. I kind of like putting those next to each other. It's just kind of, it's a match made in heaven. So again, put this all the way to the right. I'm going to go kind of crazy at about almost halfway like that. So I guess just res. I don't feel like spelling the whole thing. Okay, so next up, maybe this third macro I want to either use for vibrato. We can maybe put that on the mod wheel, for example. It really doesn't matter where we put it. Good lord. And then so we can, I guess, use this macro for that. So for this amount here, we can drag and drop this here on both of these oscillators and do the same move here. And maybe for this, we can go, I guess, let's try 50 for both of these and see how that sounds. Now that's kind of excessive as far as like how much depth that is, but I kind of like that because at the very top of this knob, it's kind of crazy. So we can really define where we want to play in right over here and kind of just say, maybe I like this zone here, but if I want something really crazy on one note, then we have the option to do that. So for this, maybe let's see if we'd have a different speed. So our rates maybe 5.51. So maybe we can go maybe 6.31. That might be kind of cool here. So let's bring that up as well. Something like that. So let's unmute this guy. Okay. So that's kind of cool. So we can put Vib for vibrato here. And also what's kind of nice, if we're here in the pitch tab, for a patch like this, it's kind of cool. We have a couple different modes, right? We have mono legato, which is not going to re-trigger the envelopes if we play legato. But it's nice here, we have poly legato. So we do have that, but we also re-trigger the envelopes. So maybe you can use that for a lead. And then maybe we can increase the attack on the filter just a little bit. Let's bring our vibrato down a bit here. That always gives that little vintage vibe. And I always like right-clicking here and making this curve here a little bit concave like that. And maybe bringing our sustain a little bit here so it kind of holds on that spot of the filter. Okay, so we have this here. Maybe we can bring some of this reverb, this delay, this down here. Maybe the chorus as well, and give this an EQ. Give it that fatness down here. And then take away some of our mud. And then for the last guy, I always like kind of using this high shelf, putting it back here in just a little bit. Something there, and if we want to, I guess we can bring this down. So we're getting a little bit more complex, but it's really not that complicated of a patch if we kind of just look at it objectively, and maybe a little bit of compression couldn't hurt anybody. See, that's one note. That is just two oscillators there. Maybe if we don't want this mono legato, we can go back to off. nice filter as well, and that's one of the cool things is just scrolling through the different filters once you have a patch pretty close to being done. And the cool part about this one too, you can hold down one note and it doesn't sound static. It doesn't sound like it's the same thing. There's all the intricacies of both the oscillators working together, the chorus going through it as well, the delays happening, the reverb, the filter sweeps. So there's a lot moving this sound, which is really nice. So here's one note of that. It almost sounds like it's alive, like an organic type of sound there. But yeah, long story short, try to maybe use a little bit less things that you would think of using and try to just use those things as best as you possibly can. So in this patch, I mean, it's not crazy at all. Two oscillators, EQ compression, which is pretty basic. I mean, you could do that on the channel strip itself if you wanted to. Some chorus, delay, and reverb, and a little bit of filter modulation and just kind of dialing things in how we want to. And then just want to make this a little bit spread out through the stereo field is using some alternate things. So that's kind of the entire recipe with a couple modulation stuff, cutoff, resonance, and vibrato. Very basic, very simple patch, but then again, it sounds nice. But there you have it. So try to make something like this yourself, regardless of what synthesizer that you're using. Thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you learned something, and we'll see you in the next video.